Hello and welcome to Unity of Fredericksburg. My name is Andrea, and I am pleased to welcome all of you to the Unity of Fredericksburg weekly online gathering. At Unity of Fredericksburg, we are advancing the movement of spiritual awakening and transformation through unity, a positive path for spiritual living. We thank those of you watching on YouTube, live or later, and invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you are able to attend live, we encourage you to join us in the Zoom community room for the full Sunday morning experience, including music, prayer, and connection. Our weekly newsletter includes the Sunday service link, and you can subscribe to receive that on our website at uofva.org. For everyone local to Central Virginia, Unity of Fredericksburg offers a variety of fun and enriching in-person gatherings every month. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter at uofva.org for all the details. Our message today comes from our minister, Reverend Cheryl Fair. And now, here's Reverend Cheryl.
Thank you, Andrea, and welcome everyone who is with me right now in the Zoom room, and those of you who are watching on YouTube. Whether you're watching now or later, we appreciate you being a part of the energy that is Unity of Fredericksburg. Our broadcast date today is Sunday, July 27th, and you all know I like to start with a little joke or a little news story that's inspiring. So today I have a news story that comes from an email that I receive regularly called the 1440 Daily Digest. This is a way that I keep up with the news without exposing myself to like television news and things like that. So I suggest it as a possibility. And they always have some inspiring news items. Here's one that I want to share with you today. The Arlington, Virginia Public Library recently hosted a contest to find a book-loving couple to get married at the library among the stacks with everything paid for. Program's librarian Brittany Veland said about 50 couples applied. She said there's a lot of alienation and loneliness we're trying to uplift as a library. And what brings people together more than a wedding? So the perfect pick for the contest was a couple named Katie and Vincent. They were the only couple that was super jazzed to have their wedding open to the public, Veland said. So the community got to work. Pages from old books were turned into floral displays. Checkout slips became greeting cards, and strangers, library patrons, became wedding guests. The couple's family and friends joined dozens of library patrons for a joyful celebration of love. Love for the newly married couple and love for the library community. One guest said, "It's like reading a good romantic book to see something like this happen." Another added, "Regardless of me knowing them, I know love and I love love. So that's a beautiful thing." So that's my little story for you this morning. A couple getting married at the library. And today we're talking about the power of love. So here in the third quarter at Unity of Fredericksburg, we are studying Unity's 12 powers. So a different power every Sunday. And the 12 powers are kind of a study set. I call them a study set that Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore developed, and it's a set of divine qualities that are inherent in each and every one of us. And as we study the 12 powers, we learn how to improve the quality of our lives, right? So today we're talking about the power of love. Love is a little four-letter word, right? That we use in a myriad of ways in English, right? So we have the joy of creating love, of expressing love. We love our partners. We love nature. We love our pets. We love coffee. We love roller coasters, whatever it is we love. That's a lot for one little word to carry, right? And other languages have a lot more words for love. Ancient Greek had 7 different words that kind of specified different kinds of love. And an internet search that I did in preparation here listed a number of languages that have close to 100 different words for love. And those include Sanskrit, Arabic, and a number of indigenous Inuit dialects. So but English, we just have this one little word. So we spend a lot of time adding other, descriptors so that we know what kind of love we're talking with, right? We're talking about. So of course, we kind of want to start by specifying what kind of love is it that we're talking about this morning when we say the power of love. So we all know that in our human nature, in our human lives, love shows up as affection, right? Desire, attachment, devotion. And this is all closely related to our feeling nature, right? Our emotions. And on a fundamental level, emotions kind of show us through our feelings a spectrum of what we want and don't want. It kind of shows us, it gives us that information, and then we can make choices based on that, kind of packing in that bit of information with other things that we know. Sometimes we know that the choices that we make in the name of love feel very driven by our personality, by our ego, right? Like, I want to feel free, I want to feel secure, I want to feel competent, whatever it is that your thing might be that you want to feel, and you can tell that your ego is kind of making a choice based on that. And sometimes we know that we are making choices in the name of love that feels connected to something much larger and deeper than that. So, that which we call God, nature, giving, and service, these things feel like a lot more meaningful than I love coffee or I love chocolate or something like that, right? So, because we sense love on that larger level, we know there's more to it. So let's start looking on that spiritual level, on that deeper level. So in the Bible, in the Gospel of John, chapter 4, verse 16 says, God is love. And those who abide in love abide in God, and God abides in them. So that first phrase, God is love. So in unity, we're not talking about a being that is loving. We're not talking about an entity that is loving. We're using the word God, and some of us use that word, some of us use other words for the divine, but we're identifying it, defining it as love, as this energy that we call love, that is that which we call God, right? So, in order for us to talk about tapping into that divine level of love, the power of love, the principle of love, of course, we need to go beyond our human understanding of I love puppies and things like that. So, let's start with a definition that comes from Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, and it's included in this book that we are using frequently in this quarter, called Power Up by the Reverend Doctors Paul Hasselbeck and Cher Holton. So this is not one of their quotes, but it's one of the quotes from Charles Fillmore that they include. So listen to this, my friends. Love in divine mind is the idea of universal unity. In expression, it is the power that joins and binds together the universe and everything in it. Love is a harmonizing, constructive power. When it is made active in consciousness, it conserves substance and reconstructs, rebuilds, and restores us and our world. So that kind of gives us a beginning place to talk about this power of love. By the way, that quote from Charles Fillmore comes from his book, Keep a True Lent. So for those of you who have been looking at books that I'm talking about, um, one thing I will say, and this is sort of an editorial comment, if you will, the Charles Fillmore book, The 12 Powers, which I'll read a quote from this later on, kind of the chapters sort of vary in how useful they are to us right here, right now in 2025. And I'm going to be frank, the chapter on love, not too useful. So, but there are other places where Charles Fillmore talks about love. And so that particular quote we just heard was from Keep a True Lent. So we hear from that quote different aspects of this power of love that we can tell are beyond kind of our human experience of love. So the things that we're going to be looking into the rest of our time together is the power of love as magnetizing, harmonizing, and unifying. Those are the three different things we're going to be looking at. So love is said to be a magnetizing power, similar to gravity. So if we think about the earth, and we think about the gravity of the earth, that gravity of the earth keeps us all here together, right? Keeps us from floating off into space. It brings all of the life forms here together on earth. And Charles Fillmore actually has a quote about that in his book, The 12 Powers. And originally this was called The 12 Powers of Man, but we understand the 12 powers are for everyone. So we just call it the 12 powers. So here is Charles Fillmore on this topic of gravity. Gravity is mortal man's name for love. By the invisible arms of love, we are held tight to earth's prolific bosom, and there we find the sweetest home in all the universe. All love of home is founded on man's innate love for this planet. Isn't that a lovely quote for us to reference at this time in human history where we do see our Earth going through some pretty significant changes? So isn't that great? All love of home is founded on man's innate love for this planet. And while I'm here in this book, one of the things that I've mentioned before, but I'll mention again, there are actually two books in this little volume, and you don't see it on the front cover, but there's a second book written by Cora Fillmore, who is Charles Fillmore's second wife after the passing of Unity co-founder Myrtle Fillmore. He married Cora Fillmore. Her book is also in here, and it's called Christ Enthroned in Man. She has a lovely quote I want to share right here, right now, too. Love holds soul and body together. Love is the attractive force that draws our good to us according to the depth and strength of our realization of love. So, love is like a magnet, right? It draws people and things and situations together just like gravity. So, it's a capacity, of course, that we can think of. We can talk about the earth, but we can also think about that on an individual level. So we use this faculty of love. As we use it, we draw ourselves toward experiences that align with our consciousness. All right. This is a really key part of this magnetizing aspect that we really need to look at. So, if we cultivate thoughts of gratitude and consciousness, like if you start your day or end your day or whenever you do it, writing your gratitude list, we are cultivating gratitude in our consciousness, and the power of love that we are activating all the time will then draw us toward experiences of things to be grateful for. But wait, it also works with other things we're not grateful for. So if we stew in thoughts that are fearful or anxious, we're actually using that power of love to draw ourselves toward experiences that align with those fearful and anxious thoughts. Uh-oh, whoops. So we need to understand that the power of love, and this goes for all of the 12 powers, and that which we call God itself, are neutral. They are aspects of the divine that exist in potential, right? And we're the ones that act upon it. And with our thoughts and our feelings and everything. So that can get a little confusing, at least for me. I don't know about for you. So let me come at it from another angle so we can really get to a good level of understanding here. So we know that our prayers have energy, right? And actually, there's plenty of scientific data out there now that, affirms that indeed prayers have energy, and what prayers are kind of focused thought, right? As we hold the high watch around a particular circumstance, right? So we understand that our thoughts, our attention, our regard, our awareness has energy, and we're in charge of what thoughts we're going to have, right? We are in charge of our own thoughts. And so our thoughts, our attention, our regard has energy, and we amplify that energy with our focus. So we do this when we pray, but we also do this when we're dwelling or cogitating or ruminating on something. So no matter what the topic, when we focus, we are in essence loving on those thoughts. Hmm? Giving them our attention, amplifying them with our energy. So, our power of love, being magnetic in nature, then draws us toward experiences that align with whatever it is we're loving on in our thoughts. So, this is how we can find ourselves aligning with things we definitely enjoy, like a wonderful cup of morning coffee. But we can also find ourselves aligning ourselves with things we don't enjoy, things that bring us anxiety or fear. And we all know that feeling of going down the rabbit hole of like, and I can't stop thinking about it. So, because the power of love doesn't judge what it is we're loving on, it just moves us toward that. And so we can't not do it because, as we talked about last week when we were talking about the power of wisdom, we are using the power of love all the time. Now, the joyful part is we get to choose. We get to choose what we're thinking about, how we're thinking about it, whether or not we feel like we have that control and power, we do. So when you find yourself spiraling on something that, worry or fearful or whatever, you can absolutely call upon your faculty, the power of love, to redirect, to refocus, to claim the good for yourself and for the world around you. So let's practice that right here and now, because you might have come up with examples in your head about like, oh yeah, I'm worried about this, I'm worried about this, I'm angry about that, whatever it is. So just imagine whatever spiraling you have been thinking of. Take a breath. All right, so we'll do a couple of affirmations and we'll do it kind of call and response style. First one, I claim love now. Say it, friends. I'll read this whole next one and then we'll do it in pieces. I use the power of love to attract myself to the highest and best in all circumstances. So here we go. I use the power of love to attract myself to the highest and best in all circumstances. Well done. Take a breath. Okay. So the second aspect we said we'd be talking about, the power of love, is harmonizing. So the Bible, as we said, defines God as love, also defines God as good, goodness. And in Genesis, we know that when the God of that story finishes creating all the everything, it claims everything as good also, right? So this energy of goodness of the divine is expressing at all times in all circumstances. That's what we learn in unity, and our teachings in unity affirm that the universe itself the activity of the universe, the activity of humanity, the activities of our own lives. And science also confirms this, and social science. It does bend toward goodness and harmony in all things. Now, there might be plenty of times where our human brains disagree with that. We're like, oh, but what about this? What about this? But like I said, there's plenty of documentation that overall, the universe, everything tends toward harmony. And we as humans are wired for harmony, right? So when the apple cart of our life gets knocked over, we automatically look for ways to come together and get things back into harmony, right? We have talked about this numerous times. We talk about all this stuff going on in the world, but we know that when like a serious weather event happens, when there's an accident or something, people come together to help. There's this energy of harmonizing that happens just naturally. So another book that we are using as a resource this quarter is written by Reverend Linda Martello Whitsett, called Divine Audacity. So I've got a quote from her today along these lines. We as love go into all circumstances. We attract ourselves into the details of our life for love. The light of love wants to shine, to heal, to transform, to unify, and to harmonize. So that all sounds wonderful. I do need to make a reminder, though, back to what we were talking about with magnetizing. What will happen? This energy of harmonizing means that our experience, what we experience in the world, will harmonize with whatever it is we are holding in consciousness. So, if you have a belief that things always work out, then you will experience that. But if you have a belief, say, that you're never good enough, you will harmonize with that kind of experience. So this, we continue to have these reminders about how important it is for us to be paying attention to the quality of our own consciousness. That's why we're always doing our work, right? In Unity, we're looking at how we're thinking, how we're feeling, how we're showing up, how we're believing, and we're working on fine-tuning that all the time. Here is a quote again from Power Up. And this is a quote from Paul Hasselbeck and Cher Holton along these lines. We each want to be vigilant about what we are desiring, wanting, needing, or requiring in the moment, because the ability of love is activated and it will harmonize and unify to match whatever it is we are desiring, wanting, needing, requiring. So this is, yet another reminder. So let's take a moment and practice again, okay? We talked about the divine being good, that all of us are, have this wiring where we want things to come together in harmony. So take a breath. All right, here's one affirmation for us. I actively see and seek goodness and harmony. Say it with me, friends. I actively see and seek goodness and harmony. Here's one more. I am love. I am loving. Say it with me. I am love. I am loving. Yes, indeed. All right. There was one more aspect of this power of love we said we were going to talk about, and that is described as unifying, unity, right? So this ties directly into the statement of oneness that we make together every week when we say there is one presence, there is one power active in my life and in the universe. So as we affirm and engage the power of love like we've been doing with these affirmations, we align ourselves with this truth of oneness. And we're going to, in our meditation, which is coming soon, my friends, we're going to work on activating our power of love. And so as we lead into that, I'm going to read a little bit again from Divine Audacity about the tendency that we have, the capacity that we have, the ability, the faculty that we have through this power of love to continually align ourselves with our fundamental belief in oneness. And we have to always remember that our human brain doesn't always believe in oneness, does it? Mm-mm. Our human brain says, no, I clearly see evidence that I'm separate from that person and that there's separation. But this is not about our human brains, is it? No, it's about spirit. It's about truth. And through our power of love, the more that we go in depth and into the silence, into the stillness, connecting with the one, the more we will have a sense of it. So let me read from Linda Martella Whitsett. We are one, one with God, one with all others. The essential unity of all is a truth discerned by mystics of all traditions in all times. A Course in Miracle teaches, heaven is not a place or a condition, it is merely an awareness of perfect oneness. Despite the truth of oneness, we humans often feel separate. Albert Einstein wrote, our separation of each other is an optical illusion of consciousness. Yet, and here's another quote that she's citing as from a book called The Art of Loving by the author, last name Fromm, Fromm. The experience of separateness arouses anxiety, right? It is indeed the source of all anxiety. So we know this, right? The unifying power of love is the remedy for separation consciousness. The unifying power of love is our capacity for communion, empathy, and compassionate service. So, these are all things that we know to be true about love. And let's work on a process. We've been doing this in our meditation time during this quarter, at least when I'm here with you. We're building on a process that was created by Cora Fillmore in her book, Christ Enthroned in Man, where we are working on activating our various powers, right? So we're not going to keep adding on because then our meditation would get way too long, right? So, but a couple things I want to note before we go into this time of meditation. One is, and I have to kind of make choices about what to talk about, what not to talk about. One of the things that's really important about to understand about the 12 powers is that they all work together all the time, right? And the more we focus on those partnerships, the healthier we are. It's kind of like your body, your body, everything is working in unison all the time. You can't kind of separate out your heart from your liver. They're all working together, right? So one of the really key partnerships is the partnership of our power of wisdom, which we talked about last week, and love, because as we know, particularly in our human lives, that power, that love can just get out of control, right? Too much chocolate is too much chocolate, right? But wisdom comes in and says, oh, it's best if we only have this much. Okay, we can love on just this much. So we're going to include our power of wisdom in this meditation today. And I also want to talk about colors. So there are colors associated with the different 12 powers, and the color for the power of love, which is here in the heart center, is pink. Now that may be different from other spiritual paths that you've studied, but this is just something that it's not something you have to be married to, but just enjoying that pink light as a part of our meditation is a joyful thing. So that's a lot of introduction. Let's take a deep breath right now, and we're going to move into our time of meditation. So take a deep breath. If you wish, you can allow your outer eyes to drift closed or just soften your gaze. Just take a moment to just notice your body in the seat. Notice the air around your body, the sounds in your environment. And we want to bring our attention right now to the crown of the head. Right at the top of the head, you can put your hand there or tap the top of your head if you wish. I want you to envision a bright white light, the light of spirit, which is not a white light without color, but it's a white light that contains all colors. So it's that white light that when you use a prism shows you all the colors of the rainbow brightly shining right there at the crown of your head. And here we affirm, I'll say it once and then you can say it again with me. Divine nature is awakening within me. Say it with me. Divine nature is awakening within me. Now shift your attention down a little bit to the forehead, right to the front of your head. Again, you can touch your forehead there to kind of say, wake up. And right here, we're going to keep that light shining right there. I'll say an affirmation and you can repeat it with me. Divine nature is, I am aware of divine nature awakening within me. I apologize. Let's do that again. I am aware of divine nature awakening within me. Now we're going to take this bright light and allow it to just gently drift down through the body. Just go slowly. So, through your head, the neck. We're going to go all the way down to just below your ribs and right above your navel. Put your hand right there. This is the seat of our power of wisdom. So we're going to make sure we're awake right here. So here's our affirmation right there. Divine nature as wisdom is awake within me. Say it with me. Divine nature as wisdom is awake within me. So now that we've got that wisdom awake, now we're going to rise back up into the heart center, bringing that bright light with us. Here in the heart center, the light is a vibrant pink, a harmonizing pink light, a unifying pink light. And we're going to say this affirmation. I'll say it once. You can repeat it with me. Divine nature as love is awake within me. Say it with me. Divine nature as love is awake within me. Now shine that pink light into every cell in the body, every thought and feeling and belief and attitude held in consciousness. If there are any circumstances or concerns coming up in your mind, that's okay. Bathe them in this pink light of love as we move into a time in the stillness, in the silence together right now. And as we begin to bring our attention back to the here and now, let us do so with an attitude of gratitude for this capacity for love that we have, for our faculty of wisdom that is a wonderful partner to the power of love. And as we bring our attention back to the current moment, back to the body in the seat, gently opening the eyes, let us close our time of meditation with another affirmation. It's actually two statements. So again, I'll say it and then you can repeat it with me. I joyfully express the power of love. I am love. I am loving. Say it with me, friends. I joyfully express the power of love. I am love. I am loving. And so it is. Thank you so much for being here today, my friends. And I am going to hand it back to our friend, Andrea.
Thanks for watching the weekly broadcast from Unity of Fredericksburg. Visit our website, uofva.org, to learn more about our mission of spiritual awakening and transformation and support our ministry with your financial donation.